Something extraordinary is unfolding. And if you have felt an unshakable sense that the atmosphere around your life has become unfamiliar, do not dismiss that feeling. There is a reason your intuition has become louder. There is a reason. Ordinary moments seem charged with unusual meaning. The cosmic event reaching its peak today is so uncommon that neither you nor your parents have ever lived through an alignment exactly like this one. The world itself was fundamentally different the last time these same celestial forces occupied this precise arrangement. Today, on July 25th, at 2 o'clock in the morning, Neptune forms an exact sextile with Pluto, a perfect 60-degree relationship that completes an extraordinary celestial design. One of the most respected astrologers of the modern era described this configuration as the most beneficial planetary architecture of the entire century, not merely the most significant pattern of a decade, but of 100 years. Yet the greatest misunderstanding people will make is believing they are witnessing only a single planetary aspect. They are not. What reaches completion today is the final connection in a much larger mechanism that has been assembling throughout the entire month. Quietly and with astonishing precision, 4 outer planets, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, have each moved into a remarkable geometric relationship. Even more astonishing is the fact that every one of these planets occupies the 4th degree of its respective zodiac sign, as though 4 immense pillars have been positioned with flawless timing to support the same invisible structure. Perhaps this explains why recent days have felt impossible to describe. Maybe you have sensed that time itself has become distorted, that familiar routines no longer carry the same emotional weight, or that life has been leading you toward an unseen threshold without revealing what waits beyond it. If those feelings have followed you, they are not meaningless. There is one specific reason they are surfacing now, and its significance will become clearer as this journey unfolds. For now, understand this much. What is occurring is not simply another energetic adjustment. It is the rewriting of an entire pattern that has quietly shaped your reality. Before this process is complete, the universe is preparing to uncover 3 profound truths that have remained hidden beneath the surface. Once they emerge, your understanding of the world, and of your place within it, will never be exactly the same again. Many people will overlook these signs because they will search only for obvious changes, but you are already responding to something deeper. On an intuitive level, you have begun recognizing that an unseen cycle has been reaching its conclusion. Today is the moment that completion finally arrives. Many people study astrology by isolating each transit as though every planetary movement exists independently, one aspect appearing and disappearing before another begins. That perspective cannot explain what has unfolded throughout July of 2026. This month has resembled the careful construction of an immense cosmic framework, assembled piece by piece with extraordinary precision until every component fit into place. The first major movement began on July 4th, when Mars united with Uranus in Gemini. That conjunction released an explosive surge of electric momentum across the collective field. If your thoughts suddenly accelerated during that period, if restlessness appeared without explanation, if unexpected opportunities or disruptions entered your environment, you were responding to the ignition point of this larger sequence. That moment served as the first spark that set the entire process into motion. Then, on July 15th, Uranus established a sextile with Neptune, opening another connection within the growing design. Only a few days later, on July 18th, Uranus completed a trine with Pluto, strengthening the emerging architecture. On July 20th, Jupiter formed a trine with Neptune while simultaneously opposing Pluto, weaving together additional structural lines across the heavens. The following day, July 21st, Jupiter finalized its sextile with Uranus, completing yet another essential connection. When these movements are viewed together rather than separately, an astonishing picture emerges. Within only 10 days, 4 outer planets established 6 exact mathematical relationships with one another. 6 perfectly timed alignments appearing within such a compressed period are not random celestial movements. They reveal deliberate geometric order. Within astrological tradition, this remarkable configuration is known as the Barbault basket, a pattern that resembles the gradual construction of an invisible framework surrounding collective reality. Imagine workers raising an enormous structure, one beam at a time. Each connection strengthens the next until the entire design becomes capable of supporting something entirely new. That is exactly what has been occurring throughout this month. Every alignment has acted as another support within this expanding architecture. Now, today, Neptune perfects its sextile with Pluto at 4 degrees Aries and 4 degrees Aquarius. This final relationship functions as the keystone that secures every previous connection into one unified structure. Once that final piece settles into place, the hidden truths contained within this cosmic design begin revealing themselves naturally, not through force, but through unmistakable recognition. The first truth has already begun revealing itself through subtle fractures appearing across the world, whether people recognize them or not. The era of concentrated power is gradually reaching its end, and a different model is beginning to emerge through individuals like you. This transformation extends far beyond politics, governments, institutions, or any single authority. The Neptune-Pluto sextile points toward a much deeper and irreversible evolution in the very nature of power itself. To understand why this carries such profound significance, notice where these planets currently stand. Pluto, the celestial force associated with profound transformation, hidden influence, destruction, and complete renewal, now occupies 4 degrees Aquarius. History reminds us that Pluto last traveled through Aquarius during one of humanity's greatest periods of upheaval. That era witnessed the American Revolution, followed by the French Revolution, events that fundamentally dismantled the belief that authority belonged exclusively to monarchs through divine right. For the first time in recorded history, power began shifting away from inherited rulers and toward the collective voice of ordinary people. That historical transformation was not accidental, and neither is the extraordinary transition beginning under these same Plutonian themes today. And as this realization continues to unfold, another even deeper truth, hidden within this celestial architecture, is preparing to reveal why this moment matters personally to you. You may already sense that something inside you has become unwilling to accept the familiar explanations that once felt sufficient. That quiet discomfort is not appearing by accident. It reflects a much deeper movement unfolding beneath the surface of collective reality. Pluto, moving through Aquarius, never negotiates with outdated systems or politely requests gradual reform. Its nature is absolute transformation. Wherever authority has become rigid, concentrated, or disconnected from the people it claims to serve, Pluto begins applying relentless pressure until the foundation itself can no longer support its own weight. Whether those structures exist within governments, financial institutions, corporations, or long-established organizations, the same invisible force is exposing weaknesses that remained hidden for years. Perhaps you have noticed it already, not only in the headlines, but in your own emotional response. Confidence in systems that once appeared permanent has begun fading. Solutions that worked for previous generations seem unable to answer the questions emerging today. This growing awareness is not simply social frustration. It mirrors the work Pluto has always performed throughout history. Before authentic renewal becomes possible, everything that has outlived its purpose must first be stripped away. Pluto does not destroy for the sake of destruction. It clears away what can no longer sustain life, so that something stronger and more truthful can eventually emerge. Yet the most important part of this story is not Pluto alone. The deeper meaning appears when your attention shifts to the other side of today's exact sextile, where Neptune now stands at 4 degrees Aries. This placement represents an experience unlike anything most people alive today have ever encountered. During the previous 14 years, Neptune traveled through Pisces, the sign traditionally associated with its greatest expression. Throughout that long chapter, spirituality expanded into everyday culture in ways few could have imagined. Meditation became widely accessible. Energy healing attracted enormous interest. Manifestation practices spread across social media and entered ordinary conversations. Countless people began searching for deeper meaning beyond material success. At the same time, every expansion carries its own shadow. Alongside authentic growth came spiritual avoidance, unquestioning devotion to charismatic online teachers, endless digital distractions disguised as enlightenment, and a tendency to escape difficult realities instead of confronting them directly. For many, spirituality gradually became something observed, collected, or consumed, rather than fully embodied. That chapter has now reached its conclusion. Neptune has crossed into Aries, and with that transition, the atmosphere changes completely. Aries embodies initiative, courage, and direct action. It represents the pioneer who refuses to wait for permission or reassurance before taking the first step. Aries does not remain seated while searching endlessly for external confirmation. Aries becomes the evidence through decisive movement. As Neptune enters this fiery landscape, every comforting illusion that once softened reality begins dissolving. Masks become difficult to maintain. Excuses lose their emotional power. Anything separating your beliefs from your daily actions becomes impossible to ignore. Neptune in Aries insists that spiritual understanding must become visible through the choices you make, not merely through the ideas you admire. When this awakened, Neptune forms its harmonious sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. An unmistakable truth emerges from beneath the surface. The future is no longer being authored exclusively by centralized authorities directing society from above. Instead, destiny begins taking shape through countless awakened individuals contributing their own conscious decisions to the collective whole. The era of waiting for someone else to rescue humanity, whether that figure appears as a political leader, a celebrated expert, or a spiritual savior, gradually loses its influence. A different model replaces it. Every individual becomes an essential point within a living network. Your willingness to reclaim responsibility for your own life, your refusal to surrender your inner authority, and your commitment to living according to genuine conviction become the very forces that reshape the larger pattern. Perhaps this explains why so many people suddenly feel compelled to leave environments that no longer reflect who they have become. Relationships built upon obligation rather than authenticity begin dissolving. Long-held loyalties feel strangely incomplete. Within yourself, you may recognize a growing determination that almost feels startling because it was absent only a short time ago. This is not reckless defiance. It is the natural resonance created as your own consciousness begins matching the frequency of the exact sextile before its influence fully settles into collective awareness. As profound as that realization may be, another revelation carried within this remarkable celestial architecture reaches even closer to everyday life because it concerns one of the defining forces of our era. Technology itself is approaching a moment of correction. For years, many people have carried an uneasy feeling they struggled to explain. Artificial intelligence has advanced with astonishing speed, while ethical discussions continually lag behind. Algorithms appear capable of predicting human behavior with unsettling precision. The very platforms created to connect billions of people have often left individuals feeling increasingly isolated despite constant communication. Beneath these developments has existed a quiet fear The technological capability might eventually outgrow the human values needed to guide it wisely. The second hidden truth emerging from this cosmic framework suggests that this imbalance cannot continue indefinitely. A powerful correction begins taking shape, and Uranus stands at the center of that process. Positioned at 4 degrees Gemini, Uranus occupies another crucial point within the remarkable Barbault basket, linking its influence seamlessly with every other planetary relationship established throughout this month. Uranus symbolizes revolutionary breakthroughs, sudden awakenings, unexpected discoveries, and innovations capable of permanently changing civilization. Gemini governs communication, information, knowledge exchange, language, and the intricate nervous system through which society shares ideas. When Uranus travels through Gemini, technological evolution accelerates dramatically, but its influence extends beyond creating faster machines. It transforms the very pathways through which information circulates across humanity. On July 18th, Uranus completed an exact trine with Pluto. Among all astrological aspects, the trine represents one of the purest expressions of effortless, energetic cooperation. Instead of conflict or resistance, energy flows freely, allowing momentum to build with extraordinary speed. The larger Uranus-Pluto cycle originally began through their explosive conjunction during the middle of the 1960s, an era remembered for sweeping civil rights movements, dramatic cultural transformation, the race into space, and the earliest foundations of modern computing. The exact trine forming during July of 2026 marks the first supportive alignment of this specific kind between these planets since 1922. That earlier period introduced the beginning of the Roaring Twenties, when inventions such as automobiles, radio broadcasting, and aviation rapidly evolved from remarkable experiments into ordinary features of daily life. History demonstrates how quickly revolutionary technologies can reshape civilization once conditions become favorable. The same principle now begins expressing itself again. The years ahead are likely to witness technological advances, integrating into everyday society with a speed that will surprise even those already expecting rapid change. And as this extraordinary acceleration continues, an even deeper revelation hidden within this cosmic architecture is preparing to explain why these innovations may ultimately become instruments that serve human consciousness rather than replace it. What is approaching now reaches far beyond faster computers or more sophisticated inventions. The momentum gathering beneath these planetary alignments points toward breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, decentralized systems, digital currencies, and perhaps discoveries that humanity has not yet developed the language to describe. Under ordinary circumstances, innovations of this magnitude would encounter enormous resistance from existing structures, established industries, and deeply rooted habits. Yet the remarkable quality of this Uranus-Pluto trine is that many of those obstacles lose their strength. Pathways that once appeared blocked begin opening with surprising ease, allowing revolutionary ideas to move into reality far more rapidly than anyone expected. Still, the greatest significance of this moment does not come from technological acceleration alone. The true transformation emerges because Uranus is participating in something much larger than a single harmonious relationship. At the same time, it maintains its trine with Pluto. Uranus also forms a precise sextile with Neptune in Aries, creating an additional layer within the remarkable Barbault basket. Together, these relationships operate almost like an invisible ethical framework, guiding the direction of innovation itself. The Uranus-Neptune cycle extends across approximately 165 years, making every major phase within that cycle extraordinarily meaningful. Its current chapter began with the conjunction of these two planets in 1993, a period that aligned almost perfectly with the emergence of the World Wide Web and the beginning of the digital age that transformed global communication forever. Now, as Uranus and Neptune arrive at their waxing sextile during 2026, humanity encounters a question that reaches far beneath technology itself. After decades of astonishing digital expansion, what have we truly created? Have we built a living network that strengthens authentic human connection? Or have we unknowingly woven an increasingly sophisticated system of emotional isolation? Neptune, traveling through Aries, refuses to let that question remain unanswered. Unlike its previous journey through Pisces, this placement insists upon honesty expressed through courageous action. It demands authenticity instead of appearance. It challenges every innovation to justify not only what it can accomplish, but also why it deserves to exist. Technology can no longer evolve solely according to efficiency, profit, influence, or control without confronting a deeper spiritual examination. That is the extraordinary function of this sextile. It anchors rapid innovation within an expanding awareness of human purpose. The inventors, engineers, researchers, and creators shaping the next generation of civilization may increasingly discover that technical possibility alone no longer satisfies them. A stronger motivation begins emerging, one rooted in responsibility, integrity, and the desire to contribute meaningfully to collective evolution. Hidden within this celestial architecture is the realization that technological progress is gradually being redirected towards serving the expansion of consciousness rather than diminishing it. This transformation is not limited to laboratories or corporations. You may already notice it unfolding within your own relationship with the digital world. Endless streams of information that once captured your attention begin feeling emotionally empty. Constant digital stimulation loses much of its attraction. Instead, you may feel naturally drawn toward tools, communities, and technologies that strengthen clarity, creativity, learning, and genuine connection rather than distraction or emotional numbness. That changing relationship is not simply a personal preference developing at random. It reflects the frequency of this alignment expressing itself through your own awareness. As remarkable as these collective changes appear, they still do not reach the deepest revelation contained within today's cosmic design. The final truth moves beyond governments, institutions, technology, or society itself. It speaks directly to your own life and explains why your inner world has felt so profoundly different in recent weeks. Earlier, there was mention of a specific reason. You have sensed an approaching turning point without fully understanding its source. This is that reason. The Neptune-Pluto sextile reaching perfection on July 25th does not stand alone. Within only 24 hours of this exact alignment, two additional celestial shifts occur that together establish one of the most significant karmic transitions seen in many decades. On July 26th, immediately following the perfection of the sextile, the lunar nodes shift onto the Aquarius-Leo axis. This movement redirects the collective karmic compass for the next 18 months. The North Node, representing the evolutionary direction humanity is being called to follow, enters Aquarius. At the same time, the South Node, symbolizing inherited patterns, accumulated karma, and what must now be released, enters Leo. Notice how perfectly this reflects the larger architecture already established across the heavens. Earlier, Jupiter opposed Pluto across this identical Leo-Aquarius axis. Now the lunar nodes arrive to reinforce precisely the same message. It is as though the universe repeats its instruction through two entirely different celestial languages to ensure humanity cannot overlook it. The age dominated by the image of the solitary hero gradually reaches its conclusion. A different chapter begins, one centered upon awakened communities acting together. The South Node in Leo encourages the release of leadership rooted primarily in personal ego, excessive self-importance, celebrity fascination, and the belief that one extraordinary individual must rescue everyone else. Attachments to charismatic personalities, the elevation of status above wisdom, and the assumption that power belongs only to the loudest voice, all begin entering a process of dissolution. Meanwhile, the North Node in Aquarius draws collective attention toward cooperation, shared intelligence, mutual responsibility, and recognition that an interconnected network possesses greater strength than any isolated individual. Humanity's future increasingly depends upon countless conscious people contributing together rather than waiting for a single figure to stand above them. On that very same day, July 26th, another equally significant development unfolds as Saturn stations retrograde at 14 degrees Aries. Saturn, long associated with karma, discipline, enduring structure, responsibility, and mastery earned through sustained effort, appears to pause before beginning its inward motion. Earlier this year, Saturn united with Neptune in a historic conjunction at the very first degree of Aries, dissolving obsolete structures while planting the seeds of entirely new possibilities. Now, Saturn's retrograde returns to evaluate those emerging visions. It asks whether they possess the strength required to become reality. In many ways, Saturn provides the essential balance that the flowing trines and harmonious sextiles cannot create on their own. Inspiration without commitment remains incomplete. Vision without discipline never achieves lasting form. The extraordinary harmony contained within the Barbault basket releases tremendous currents of creativity, innovation, spiritual awakening, and possibility. Yet Saturn's inward turn prevents those possibilities from drifting into wishful imagination disconnected from practical action. If a new world is truly being constructed, its foundation must prove capable of supporting everything that follows. The karmic message becomes impossible to misunderstand. Escaping into beautiful dreams is no longer enough. Those dreams must now be supported through consistent effort, mature responsibility, and deliberate choices made every day. This explains why your inner landscape has felt increasingly unfamiliar. That persistent restlessness, the quiet sensation of standing before an invisible doorway, the growing realization that the version of yourself who existed only a few months ago no longer seems capable of carrying you into what comes next. All of these experiences reflect the profound karmic transition now reaching its decisive turning point. There are moments in life that your logical mind cannot fully explain, yet something much deeper inside you recognizes them immediately. This is one of those moments. Long before your thoughts could organize what was happening, your soul had already begun preparing for it. That quiet anticipation you have carried, the feeling that your life has been approaching an invisible turning point, has not been imagined. What is unfolding now represents a profound karmic reset, not the gentle kind that quietly adjusts a few circumstances, but the kind that shifts the very foundation upon which your future will stand. The axis of your life is being repositioned so completely that, when you look back 6 months from now, this very week may appear as the single hinge upon which everything quietly began to change. Yet the complete picture does not emerge all at once. The Neptune-Pluto sextile reaches exact perfection on July 25th. The following day, July 26th, the lunar nodes move onto the Aquarius-Leo axis, while Saturn stations retrograde. Those events establish the framework, but the moment of unmistakable recognition arrives on July 29th. That is when the full moon rises in Aquarius at 6 degrees beside Pluto, illuminating everything that has been developing beneath the surface throughout the month. This is far more than an ordinary full moon. It serves as the culmination of the extraordinary celestial architecture that has been carefully assembled since the beginning of July. Every energetic seed planted during the explosive Mars-Uranus conjunction on July 4th continues into this moment. Every structural connection created through the remarkable Barbault basket contributes to this culmination. Every transformation secured by the exact Neptune-Pluto sextile also reaches visible expression beneath this Aquarian light. Full moons have always revealed what could not previously be seen. They bring hidden developments into conscious awareness and expose truths that have quietly matured in darkness. This particular lunation carries even greater significance because it unfolds upon the Aquarius-Leo axis, the identical axis newly activated by the lunar nodes, and the same axis across which Jupiter continues its opposition with Pluto. Every major theme woven throughout this extraordinary month converges within this single celestial event. You are likely to experience it not merely as an external observation, but as something deeply personal. Understanding may not arrive instantly, yet a powerful realization begins crystallizing inside you. Perhaps clarity suddenly appears regarding the direction your life genuinely wishes to follow. Perhaps you recognize without hesitation what has fulfilled its purpose and what deserves to remain part of your future. Perhaps, even for only a brief moment, the uncertainty that has surrounded you dissolves, allowing you to glimpse the larger design taking shape. Between July 25th and July 29th, remain especially attentive to everything rising into your awareness. Notice the dreams that linger long after you awaken. Pay attention to conversations carrying unusual emotional weight. Observe unexpected insights arriving without effort. Watch for decisions that suddenly feel unmistakably clear after months of confusion. None of these experiences should be dismissed as meaningless coincidence. They may represent the universe revealing pieces of the blueprint that has quietly guided your transformation all along. There is also an important distinction that determines how people experience this remarkable period. Many individuals assume that such extraordinary planetary configurations automatically produce extraordinary outcomes. That assumption overlooks the true nature of the Barbault basket. It is not a promise guaranteeing change regardless of your participation. It is an architecture, a supportive framework, a harmonious field of possibility within which meaningful transformation becomes available. It provides the structure, the frequencies, and the opportunities, yet it cannot take action in your place. The tools remain in your hands. Countless people may sense that something has shifted without ever identifying its source. They may notice life feels subtly different while continuing to repeat familiar habits. Years from now, they may wonder why nothing fundamentally changed, never realizing they quietly allowed this rare opening to pass unnoticed. Yet there is another possibility, and perhaps it explains why you have remained present until this moment. Something drew your attention here. Something within you recognized that this message mattered before your conscious mind understood why. That response is significant. Approximately 94% of people alive today were born with the Neptune-Pluto sextile present within their natal charts. In symbolic terms, this suggests that many individuals carry an inner resonance capable of recognizing precisely this type of transformative energy when it returns collectively. Your own nervous system may already be responding to frequencies your analytical mind has not fully translated into language. Looking across everything revealed throughout this extraordinary sequence, three central truths stand unmistakably before us. The first is that concentrated systems of authority continue losing their dominance, while individual sovereignty grows increasingly important within the collective evolution. The second is that technological advancement is entering a process of spiritual realignment, gradually serving human evolution more faithfully than systems of control. The third is that a profound karmic turning point now redirects collective development away from ego-centered patterns and toward genuine cooperation and shared purpose. Yet even these truths remain possibilities until they are consciously lived. The Neptune-Pluto sextile represents opportunity rather than certainty. It opens a doorway without forcing anyone to cross its threshold. It offers a new frequency without compelling anyone to resonate with it. It presents the blueprint while leaving the actual construction entirely within human hands. That is why the coming days deserve your complete attention. Whatever emotions, intuitions, opportunities, or inner convictions rise into awareness should not be dismissed simply because they seem unexpected. If a powerful attraction toward a new direction suddenly appears, honor it. If you unmistakably recognize that a chapter of your life has reached its natural conclusion, do not ignore that recognition. If an insistent energy keeps urging you to stop postponing necessary action and begin moving forward, understand that this may be the very transformation these celestial alignments have been preparing within you. In many ways, it is as though the universe places an unwritten page before you and quietly asks what future you are now willing to create. The remarkable planetary arrangement unfolding today will not return in this exact form. 4 outer planets, occupying the same degree within their respective signs, while participating in this precise network of trines and sextiles, transforming the tension of the Jupiter-Pluto opposition into creative momentum, represents an exceptionally rare celestial moment. The blueprint built upon hierarchy, passive dependence, and surrendering personal authority to external systems gradually dissolves before our eyes. Taking its place is a different vision, one founded upon individual sovereignty, contributing to collective intelligence, technological advancement, supporting the human spirit rather than exploiting it, and karmic responsibility, replacing endless repetition of inherited patterns. The celestial design has now been completed. Every structural element stands exactly where it belongs. The architecture itself is ready. What happens next depends upon the choices made by each individual who recognizes this opening. The universe has already begun rewriting the larger story. The only remaining question is whether you will allow that extraordinary process to reshape your own. Thank you for staying until the end and sharing this journey. If this message resonated with you and you would like to continue exploring these remarkable cosmic cycles together, consider subscribing so you will not miss future insights. I would also love to hear what you experienced during these powerful days, so share your thoughts and observations in the comments below. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself, remain open to what is unfolding, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.